I like my Halloween candy like I like my women, from a great neighborhood and no funky smell. Bonus points if it's never been licked.
All right, guys, how we doing? Happy Thanksgiving. Hope you all had a wonderful turkey day last week. Hopefully you spent it with friends or family and loved ones. It was actually my first time cooking, being the cook on Thanksgiving. I figured, I made it almost 4 decades on this planet as just the guest eating, getting the benefit from the cook. So it's time to step up. I was the cook. I even made a YouTube video, Brianing with Brian. Maybe some of you saw that. So this first topic, Seth Rogen was trending. Okay, first I just want to say I love Seth Rogen. He's one of my favorite writer, director, actors. Every Seth Rogen movie I really enjoy, and I think he does just a phenomenal job. So having said that and gotten that out of the way, Seth Rogen, you were trending because I think it was a popular YouTuber, but somebody was expressing how they were very angry and they were kind of calling LA a crappy place because their car had been broken into, a bunch of belongings stolen, and Seth Rogen chimed in saying like, hey, this is a lovely place, don't blame it. It's called living in a big city. And then he went on to say that his car had been broken into 15 times in 20 years living in WeHo, which is where I've lived most of my time in Los Angeles. So it's like, how do you call it a lovely place, but then also say, my car was broken into basically almost once a year. Look, I'll tell you guys, if you've never lived in Los Angeles, yeah, of course, there are many lovely things about it and lovely areas. I'm sure where Seth Rogen is living now currently is extremely lovely. But don't get it fooled. LA is a shithole in many areas. I mean, there are people living in tents everywhere these days. It's not just in the bad parts of LA. It's in the nice parts too now. You drive along Sunset Boulevard in WeHo and Hollywood, and there's literally the city has to put up porta potties because there's so many people living in tents on the main boulevard, on the side streets, everywhere, just in your face. You can literally, I didn't have a car for 2 years, so I was taking, those scooters. So I was going by slowly. You can see them smoking meth and shooting up in the tents. It is not uncommon to see a person defecating on the streets. It happens so often, it's normal. And that's the craziest part in Los Angeles, is it's become normalized. Everybody's desensitized. Like, you're used to seeing people living in the streets and that there's porta potties everywhere. There will literally be people drinking at like a fancy cafe on one corner, and then across the street, people living in tents, and just garbage everywhere. Imagine hoarders everywhere, and everything they're hoarding is outdoors on the sidewalks. Every freeway you get on, at the entrance and the exit, tons of homeless people living in the underpasses. I have empathy, but when people are breaking into your apartment complex, stealing things out of your car, shitting in the hallways, shitting in the stairwells, shitting in the parking lot, yes, this is like normal. It is common to walk into your stairwell and see a homeless person passed out. There was a guy once in my stairwell. He vomited everywhere, just puddles of vomit. And I called the police, and they gave me an attitude. Like they're so tired of dealing with it. I'm like, you want me to deal with this guy? But so Seth Rogen, give me a break. I love your movies. I love your talent. I'd love to work with you. But even if my dream came true and I got to work with Seth Rogen, I'd be like, Seth, come on. Lovely? It can be lovely. Anything can be lovely. I'm sure hell can be lovely. Okay, at least it's not cold. But we're also in hell, so that kind of sucks too. LA, yes, can be lovely, but I would never deride somebody for kind of venting and complaining that their car got broken into. Seth Rogen said, you shouldn't think of your car as an extension of yourself. Bro, some people, it is an extension of themselves. How many actors move to Hollywood and they live in their car? They're one of those homeless people, but at least they're not out on the street with their garbage everywhere, pissing and shitting. But your car is an extension of yourself living in LA and trying to make it. It's like, God, I remember I've lived in such small apartments. Most of the time, half my belongings had to be in my car out of necessity, need, not because I wanted that. So I don't know why you're defending. It's almost like he's defending the person that broke into the car. I'm sure he's a very nice man. But I don't know. Maybe Seth was just trying to be funny. But it did, people didn't like it because it came off a little elitist. But I think if your car gets broken into and things get stolen, you should get to complain and be like, what the hell? And yes, living in a big city, there's going to be bad things. But I'll tell you, over the last 5 years, things have gotten a lot worse. My friend, good buddy of mine in Mid-City, he was attacked by a carjacker. He had to fight him off, thought he was going to get shot. Somehow he got out of there. He closed the door on the guy's arm and he sped off. It was a really scary moment. Another friend of mine got robbed on Melrose at gunpoint. I personally lived off Melrose Avenue. My house was broken into. I actually had to go to trial. Okay, I had to go to trial, and I'm on the stand, and they're like, "Can you point? Is the person that broke in your house in this courtroom?" And I had to actually, and this is a true story, because I was like, most people are probably sheepish in this situation and kind of timid. But I was like, you know what? No, you're not going to come into my house and rob me, and I'm going to be the one that's got to be in fear or whatever. No, and intimidated. So I said, yes, Your Honor, the man who robbed my house, I literally did. I went, is the man in the orange jumpsuit right there. The man in the orange jumpsuit. But and he didn't even look at me. He was looking down. He was ashamed. He was probably sober, and the drugs wore off while he's been in prison or jail for the last week or whatever it was. But that was a scary moment, I'll never forget when we caught him. My first thought, I walk out of my bedroom into the main area of the house, and the main area of the house was kind of like the living room, dining area, and kitchen were all side by side. So it was just like a long way to the other side of the house, but all open. So as soon as I saw that, and I knew immediately, oh my God, this guy, he had a box with our laptops and things in it. As soon as I saw him, I knew, oh my God, he was super dirty and filthy. But it was interesting where my head went, because I immediately wanted to de-escalate the situation. Because in my head, my first thought is, oh my God, I'm catching him. He sees me. He's going to pull out a gun and shoot me. And so my first thought was to play dumb. So as soon as I saw him, I went, what's up, bro? Hey, man, party starts in 10 minutes. Everybody's going to start getting here, so make yourself at home. Grab a beer out of the fridge. I promise you girls are on their way. That's literally what I said to him, because I want him to think, oh, my God, this guy's an idiot. This guy doesn't even realize he's being robbed. He just thinks this is like a party or something. So I say that to him. My next thought was, where do I jump to duck for cover if he pulls out a gun? I literally, that was my next thought, was where do I dive? And there was a chaise lounge to the right. And my thought was, I'll dive next to the chaise lounge, and then I'll lift it up from the bottom and push it at him. That's literally what's going on in my mind. He puts the box of laptops and belongings down. He extends his hand, and he says, oh, hi, man. Yeah, I'm here for the party. He's stuttering, and I go, you must be Andy's friend. He told me you were coming over. And this is where my improv acting background, I guess, helps out, right? So this guy's like, yeah, I'm Andy's friend. He's walking at me like this, and I just go, whoa, bro, I just got over a cold. You don't want to touch my hand. In fact, I just chugged a beer. I got to go vomit in the bathroom. I go, but help yourself to a beer in the fridge. This is what I say to this guy. So I walk out of that room into the hallway, run into my bedroom, tell my two friends, we're getting robbed. The robber's in the house right now. I just did an improv acting thing with him. He doesn't know that I think he's robbing us. He's probably taking our laptops. We got to get him. They instantly jump up, my buddy Jordan and my other friend Cole, and they run after this dude. He's outside we see him through the window with our stuff. They run after him. I think Cole might have hit him or Jordan, or both of them. And they just kind of start beating him. And then he goes, I got a gun, stay back. And that's where all of a sudden they freeze, I freeze. We're freaking out. I'm on the phone calling 911. By the way, when you call 911, it ain't like the movies or TV shows. I think they put me on hold. It took them an hour and 15 minutes to get there. And we just had to stand around this guy who was trying to get away, and he kept saying he had a gun, and he had something black in his back pocket, but it turns out it was a flashlight. So when they figured out he didn't have a gun, I think they hit him a couple more times. Finally, the cops get there, and, we're telling him everything that happened. And this guy, he tells the cops his side of the story, which is great, is that where he works for us and gets drugs from us that he sells, and we're like the main... we're the bad guys. Like, we're the bigger, the drug lords. That's his story. And so we go in our house. But what was funny is all of our roommates, we all smoked weed. And there was probably 5 bongs in there, weed everywhere. And this is before weed was legalized, I believe. And so we tell the cops, we're like, yeah, we were in this room drinking beer. And then it was a lady, and she goes, and smoking weed, go on. And I'm like, yeah, and we told them everything that happened. And then, like I said, I had to go to the courthouse. I had to point the guy out. And I wonder, maybe he's watching this podcast right now, Make a long story short, we're best friends now. Guy's name is Gary, and he runs, and he actually is one of the technicians on this podcast. Hey, Gary, really glad you turned your life around. Trying to take my laptops. Gary, such a Gary move. No, I don't know where that guy is now. Maybe he's the guy who broke into this YouTuber's car that Seth Rogen's commenting on. Could you imagine? It's the same guy. Seth Rogen laugh. Anyways, Seth Rogen, I love you, but I think you get to vent and complain if somebody breaks in your car. And yes, there are many parts of LA that are lovely, but there are a lot of parts that ain't so lovely. Let me tell you, La Brea and Sunset, that whole strip looks like a third world country. It literally looks like a third world country in many parts of LA. I used to drive for Uber in LA, and every time I would drive tourists around, they would just look out the window like they were in a safari seeing animals they've never seen before. Like, oh, what? You guys live here? What is that? That, sir, is what we call an encampment. Just thousands of tents down a street. And not even in the alley, on the street, in front of houses. I can't even imagine buying a $5 million house, and you walk outside and shoeless Sam is pushing a Target cart, urinating on your azaleas. Is that a flower, an azalea? Something like that. Anyways, I've been on this topic too long. Seth Rogen, people get to complain when they get their car broken into, and saying LA is lovely and not acknowledging all the parts that aren't very lovely. No, come on. What are we doing over here? Have you ever been east of La Brea, Seth?